Hi campers, only me again. So I'll come back to you with a little update. Um, After my 6 a.m. musings, um, I decided to phone Dr Paula Reynolds this morning. I'm sure most of you have heard of Dr Paula Reynolds, Lincolnshire Fish Health. Probably one of the most eminent koi specialists in the world, certainly in the country. If you don't know anything about Dr Paula Reynolds, she was the head of the team that first identified KHV. They developed the testing for it in the early 1990s. I think it was 1996 actually. And they identified the very first confirmed case of KHV, which was in the UK. And she is probably one of the leading people on fish health there is. Lovely woman, spent about an hour on the phone with her. We got into some quite in-depth conversation about KHV, and I learned a lot more than I knew this morning. And she's worked for DEFRA and CFAS and all the big organisations, and she's been doing a lot of research. She's been all over the world. She's done work with the Israelis with their koi and all sorts of things, and we had several discussions about several different topics. She actually disagrees with CFAS. The Israelis do vaccinate their fish. CFAS don't class it as a vaccination, but it is actually a vaccination. It's a dip type vaccination. They dip all their fish, then they put them into a huge pond, and she said they are really, really huge. And they stress the vaccine. So what they do is they expose the fish to KHV, and those that the vaccine it hasn't taken will die, and they'll obviously scoop off, and anything that survives they will then sell on. And that's basically how it works. So that's that one on the Israeli side of things. Had a discussion with her about Virkon Aquatic as well. Not Virkon S, Virkon Aquatic. And she says, yes, it does stop, well, not stop, but slow down the spread of KHV. It will not kill the virus in the fish, but it will kill the virus in the water. And obviously, if it's very small viral load in the water, it's less likely to affect the fish. So it doesn't absolutely stop it, but it does slow it down, and it does give the fish's immune system a chance to build up against KHV, and obviously for it not to kill the fish. So Virkon Aquatic is actually very useful. Don't listen to people say Virkon has melted fish's skin off. It doesn't. That'll be Virkon S. That'll be the full strength sheep dip job. Virkon Aquatic is a totally different animal. And yeah, I'm sorry if Dr Paula Reynolds says yes, it's fine to use, then I'd rather listen to her than someone on YouTube. Talking about KHV itself, the virus, I've been through everything with her in great detail, and she tends to agree that it does sound very much like KHV. But she's also opened my eyes to a few things. There are several strains of KHV, and not all of the strains give the sunken eyes and the pitted nose. In fact, some fish show no signs whatsoever and just keel over and die. And there's no telltale indicator, no necrosis of the gills, nothing. So the virus is evolving, and it's becoming more stealthy. There are variants out there that are very stealthy. So if you do get a lot of unexpected fish losses, especially when the temperatures go up, even if you're not getting the classic signs, there is a probability or a possibility that it is KHV. You obviously have to be very aware of that, because you shouldn't then really move anything out of your pond, and you should be very wary moving stuff into your pond. I've had a letter from CFAS, which I will post some screenshots of, just for clarity, that I have been to CFAS, and I will show you the advice that they have given me. It will have my address on it. They have got my surname incorrect, so I'm not even going to edit that out. My surname is totally wrong on it, but I'm going to leave my address on it just purely and simply so you can see it is addressed to me. You can double check my address on the Skegness Pond Supplies website, just so that if there is any doubt with anyone that I have contacted CFAS and that is the advice they gave me, then it's there in black and white. Dr Paula Reynolds has actually given me exactly the same advice. She has said, do not move your fry into the main pond yet. She said, sit and assess the situation, see what happens over the next few weeks. She said, with this temperature spike we're about to have for 4 days, she said if you've got KHV in that pond, they will start going belly up, because the increase in temperature and water temperature will stress the fish, lower the oxygen content, and allow the virus to grow, because it is affected by temperature, which is why they've said if you want to introduce fish, introduce them in winter, because the viral load is much lower. So my koi fry are currently at 23 degrees, which is getting up to the peak of the virus multiplying, which is about 25 degrees from the research I've done. So if it is in that fry tank, I've not had any losses for weeks in the fry tank. Apart from when I was moving fish about, and I lost a couple doing that, but I think that was just moving them about rather than anything else. I've not lost anything in any numbers. I've not seen any signs of any illness in them at all. And believe me, now I'm watching like a hawk. I've also got my growing shows in there, which would again be much easier to spot signs of illness like sunken eyes and that sort of thing, because they're slightly larger fish. And I'm not seeing anything at all. I now have one net for the fry. I've always had separate nets, but I've now got a totally different net for the fry. That will go nowhere near the pond. Nothing from the fry system is going to go anywhere near the main pond. And Dr Reynolds has basically said to me, if over the next few weeks you don't have fish going belly up, you're pretty safe in the knowledge that that hasn't got KHV, because we're going to have a week of high temperatures. And she is fairly confident in her experience, which is vast and over many decades of specialising in this, that those fry will be fine if I don't start having losses over the next week or so. The incubation period for KHV is about 2 weeks. Nothing in that fry tank has been in contact with anything in the pond in the last 2 weeks. It's been months since there was any chance of cross-contamination. As I said, the fry were originally in the main pond. So I would have expected, with that heat spike we had the other week, if there was KHV in there from when they were in the main pond, from what Dr Reynolds has said, for a lot of the fish to start going belly up. If they're carriers, it will start to break out. That hasn't happened as of yet. So basically what's happened is the heat spike the other week, and then the drop in temperatures where it's got quite cool, and now the heat spike again. It's the equivalent of heat ramping. It's trying to force the virus out. And this period of long period of hot weather should, according again to Dr Reynolds, allow the virus time to multiply because of the increased temperature. And that will be a very good indicator of whether there's KHV or not. So we're basically doing a natural heat ramping. That's what it boils down to, which is what a lot of koi dealers do. I had another 2 fish in the main pond die this morning when I got up. I actually took the gill plates off those, and yes, there is necrosis of the gills. So that's another confirmatory sign. So I think it's pretty conclusive. Having spoken to Dr. Reynolds, the reason I rang her was to see if we could do some tests on some of the fry to see if there was KHV in them before I decided to put them into the main pond. And she said basically you can test the fish as a carrier, as a fish that isn't showing symptoms. It's very, very, very hard to isolate and identify. She said you would have to do tests on multiple fish, and if you wanted to be 100% sure, you would have to test every single fish. And she said, to be absolutely fair to you, she said you could go to any place in the country, and if they don't start going belly up in this heat wave, you are at as much risk of having KHV as buying fish in any shop, establishment, getting out of any garden pond in the country, because you're basically doing a heat ramp. You're basically stressing the fish. You're bringing the temperatures up quite high, which is going to deplete the oxygen, which is going to stress the fish and increase the viral load at the same time, which then makes them very vulnerable. So I'm going to sit on my hands for 2 weeks. I'm going to sit on my hands until I come back from Denmark, which is about 3 weeks. The acid test will be when I go away to Denmark, because I'll be away for 4 days, and it'll be a case of the missus will just be going and lobbing a handful of food in every now and then when she remembers. There'll also be no filter cleaning going on or anything like that. So again, that'll be another stress test for them, because they're not used to not having their filters clean every day or two. So it's going to be stressful for them over the next 2 or 3 weeks, and that will put it to the test. That will either bring it out, and if it's not there, it won't come out. It's as simple as that. So I'll know in the next few weeks if we're in a situation where they're going to be okay or not. And that's as good as it gets for the fry. That's as good as anyone can expect from any koi dealership, as far as Dr. Reynolds is concerned. This is her words, not mine. I've gone to her saying, I need to test these fish or get rid of these fish, and she said, no, you don't. So I'm feeling a little bit more positive. I know there's people out there that will probably disagree, that will probably go, no, you should get rid of them all just in case. Again, I'm going to listen to the scientists who know what they're talking about, and not random YouTubers. So they might be all right, they might not. They've got 2 choices, haven't they, really? Trust me, if there's any signs of them all falling over, there's no way those fish are going anywhere. No way. I won't euthanize them. They'll go in the main pond with the rest of them. They'll have 2 choices. They live or they die, and they will either survive or not. It's as simple as that. Probably with the amount of loading the pond would have, then quite a few of them are going to keel over. But they have 2 choices. But there's no way I'm sticking a few bottles of clove oil in 300 fish, or more than 300 fish. It's just not happening. If they get through the virus, they'll live quite happily. They'll probably be a bit weak for a while afterwards while they recover. But once they've got through it and their immune system has taken care of it, and they will then live with the virus quite happily for the rest of their lives. The other good thing that I found out is, again, Dr. Reynolds was doing a lot of research, and she's actually researched this specifically, and you can still spawn the fish. KHV does not penetrate the eggs or the embryos, so you can spawn. You can take the spawn brushes out with the eggs and put them into a clean, fresh system, and they will not have KHV, which is fantastic news because it means I can still spawn the fish that I have. And obviously, the although my fish aren't particularly expensive or particularly special, um, I can still spawn them and I can still play about with that, which was one of my concerns, that there would be absolutely no point in spawning at all because everything would be infected. But I've actually been told that, and I've also been told that a certain Polish koi farm, because they don't have any fish, once a fish leaves site, no fish come back in. What they do is, if they have a particular parent set, they spawn that parent set and they take the eggs in because the eggs can't carry anything. And then they rear the fish there from the parent set, and that way they can bring in new bloodlines without actually bringing the fish on site. So it seems that is already in practice in some of the bigger koi farms. I'd like to thank everybody that's reached out to me, private messages and phone calls and WhatsApps and all that sort of thing. I had one very surprising reach out this morning, and I've got to take my hat off to the guy and show the guy a little respect, to be fair, because the office phone went. My other half answered it, and she just looked at me quizzically and passed me the phone. And I knew the voice instantly. It's not a voice you easily forget. It was Gary Webb. Now, you will all know that Gary Webb and I are not best friends. We probably never will be best friends. But I have to say thank you very much to Gary and Caroline for reaching out and offering their support. It's far more than some have done, let's put it that way. It was unexpected. It doesn't mean we're going to be best buddies, but I do respect the guy for doing that. And much as we've had our run-ins and our ups and downs and some pretty narky arguments, really, yeah, thank you for reaching out. I do appreciate it. I will consider coming on the live and talking about it, because the whole reason I'm doing this is to get information out there, information that doesn't seem to be out there at the moment. So I will consider that. Gaz, I will consider coming on yours as well. Just not right now. I'm okay waffling like this, but I think bang, bang, bang questions and answers and things, I don't think I'm in the right headspace to do that yet. I've got to get my own head around it first. I've got to find out what's going on. So maybe in September, when I'm a little bit more settled, maybe we'll do something and we'll have a discussion about it and go through my experience of it. I think the only person that I've ever heard openly talk about it is Gary at Gatwick Koi. I have to say, Gary, you've been a rock, mate. Thank you very much for all your advice and your help. It's been much appreciated. So I'm not going to put any more photos of dead fish or necrotic gills or anything like that. Everyone knows what necrosis of gills looks like. It's when the gills go sort of like greyish brown and obviously not red and pink, so they're obviously dead. There's no need for me to put photos of that. I did take some photos to send to Gary because he asked if he could see the gills, and it's just another confirmation. It's just another another nail in the coffin, if you like. At the minute, most of the fish are doing okay. I've got a couple that are looking a bit peaky still, but the majority of the fish seem okay. Um, so it's just a case of wait and see now. I'm fully expecting to lose two more at least, who are looking quite peaky. They're not that bad at the moment, but you can tell the eyes are starting to sink a little bit, and they could come round, they could recover, they might not. Um, the one thing about KHVs that is small mercy is it's quick. Um, they're not hanging around for weeks on end, floating around or anything like that. It's like a day and they're gone. So by the time you've noticed it, usually 24, 48 hours, they've gone. So um, spending money euthanizing them, if they were swimming around for weeks suffering, then yeah, this is so quick. Um, you hardly get a chance to. To be fair, by the time you've noticed it, they're gone. Um, I think it would be more stress for the fish me getting in there and chasing them around with a net. Because as soon as you put a net in the water, they're off like Lewis Hamilton. They're floating around looking like they're on their last legs. The net goes anywhere near them, they're off. They're like a sprinter. So, yeah. Anyway, that's basically where we're at. As I say, thank you to everyone that's reached out. Davey, you've been my rock as always. Black Country Koi bloke. Vince, again, always at the end of the phone. Jamie, keeping it coy. Yeah, thank you for all your help as well and your support. And everybody else that has messaged or that I've used them as a shoulder to bounce off. I just want to say thank you to you guys, because it's tough. It is tough. You would not believe how psychologically draining this is. As I said, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So that's where we're at the moment. I'm sorry to keep putting little videos up, but I think as the information comes in, I think I'd rather put it into a video while it's fresh in my mind. And this is documented so that it's there for other people to refer back to. As I say, there's very few people that talk about this. It's almost like a dirty word, and I think it's time that it wasn't. I think it's time that it was talked about, and it wasn't swept under the carpet, because it is a problem. Speaking to Dr Paula Reynolds, it is a problem. It's everywhere. It's, you know, not just one or two places. It's all over the place, and there's several different strains, as I said, which give different results. So yeah, just be careful, guys. Just watch what you're putting in your pond. As CFAS said to me, don't do any more pond clearances. Don't take any more fish out of other people's ponds. If you do, quarantine them for a month. Hold them at about 20 degrees for a month. Quarantine them. Make sure that there's nothing. Make doubly sure that there is nothing. You know, heat ramp them yourself, because there's too much of it out there, and it's so difficult to test for and so difficult to spot. It was only when I saw that one with the sunken eyes and I said to someone, "What the hell's going on with that? I've never seen anything like that." And they said, "That's KHV." Nobody really seems to document it. So that's what I decided to do. Whether it's the right or the wrong thing, I don't know. But I hope someone finds the information useful. I hope at some point someone will see this and it will save them a lot of pain and a lot of head scratching and a lot of money and a lot of time on wasting hundreds and hundreds of pounds on bacterial treatments when it's not bacterial. So there you go, guys. That's where I'm up to. I will obviously keep you informed of any new developments. I think the next week will tell on the fry, but I'm going to give it a couple of weeks after that just to be sure. And if we're not suffering losses and we're not having symptoms in that pond, on the advice of one of the world's best, and if she says to me, if it doesn't kick off in the next week, it's not going to, there's no KHV in that pond, that's good enough for me. I've been very upfront and honest about it. It's all there, it's all here, it's all on video. I'm not going to hide away from it. So I'm going to put a couple of screenshots of the letter from CFAS and the advice that they've given me in that letter, which you can see. They are classing it as a private pond because it's the main pond that's showing the symptoms and the fish are dying, which is my private pond. I have told them about the fry tank situation. They don't seem to have mentioned that in the letter. I have mentioned to them that I do run a pond supply business, but I'm not selling livestock at the moment. So they said, well, that doesn't concern us. If you're not selling livestock, it doesn't concern us. So that's where we're at, basically. It's just a case of time now. And that's one thing we've all got plenty of, isn't it? Right, guys. Right, on to the screenshots. I'll catch you all later. Ciao.